Hi everyone. Have you ever felt judged or attacked by other Christians and now you want no part of Christianity, or somebody that claims to be a Christian or in a church has hurt you and you felt condemned or criticized? That's wrong, and that is not what Jesus Christ taught. If you've experienced judgment, whether it's hearing a hateful pastor or preacher on TV, or you've heard a bad story about it, or you've been hurt or criticized or condemned, I'm here to tell you that's not Jesus Christ. Do not blame Jesus because his followers are imperfect. How many times do you hear a parent say, "Don't blame me for my kid, I did the best I could"? Think about how Jesus feels when people are warping what he said or adding things to it to use it to condemn others. Jesus Christ was not about judging other people. He had compassion and love and mercy, and he came to preach forgiveness, not judgment and criticism. That's a far cry from those people on the road you see, "Sinners, repent, you're going to burn in hell," or some of the hateful stuff you'll hear on TV. Christians today, Christianity's become about what it's against more than what it's for. The point of Christianity was to follow Jesus. He's the founder. We're supposed to be his disciples and follow what he did and said. But instead, Christians like to judge and live self-righteous lives. Not all of them. Okay, hear me. Not every Christian is this way. I'm not condemning the whole Christian church or every church out there. But I'm going to give you some reasons for that judgment in a minute. Right now, I want to tell you exactly what Jesus said before people start clicking off the video. Jesus Christ said, he commanded his followers, "Judge not, or you will be judged. Don't condemn others, or you'll be condemned by God." That's a straight-out teaching of Jesus Christ. He told people, don't look at the speck in somebody else's eye. Remove the plank in your own eye first. I.e., look in the mirror before you're criticizing, condemning, or judging somebody else. Jesus said, look in the mirror. He said, with the measure we use, it'll be measured back. I.e., at whatever level of judgment we're judging or criticizing somebody else, that's how God's going to judge us. He taught not to judge. He had examples of this when the woman was caught in adultery and everybody was going to stone her and throw stones at her. He said, let you without sin cast the first stone. He saved that woman from judgment. The woman at the well who was, quote, a sinner or a bad lady or whatever, according to the Gospels, he had a drink with her, which he wasn't supposed to. He asked her for water. By the law, he wasn't allowed to go near that woman because she was an outcast and she wasn't living her life right. But Jesus came right up to her and he asked her for a drink. So much that the woman was shocked and said, "Why are you asking me for a drink?" He went to Peter, who was a fisherman at the time, before Peter was the Apostle Peter. And he said, "Come follow me." And Peter was like, "Go away from me, I'm a sinful man." And Jesus said, "Come follow me." Jesus did not judge. And he told his followers, don't judge anybody else. Look at yourself first. That was the teaching of Jesus. Now, what he said about himself is, I have not come to judge or condemn the world, but to save it. He said his mission was to save people. To save people. He said he's come so that we'll have a life and have a more abundant life, not to judge. In fact, there was at one point where he said, I judge no one. So Christians who are being critical and judgmental are not following Jesus. There's many reasons for this, okay? The first reason is it says Jesus is the chief cornerstone, the foundation. So when somebody's raised in Christianity, they know about Jesus. Or if somebody converts to Christianity, they become a Christian, they accept him, they believe. Okay? But a cornerstone's the first stone that's laid on a building. Okay? Well, once somebody knows about Jesus or says they follow him, they can build on that any way they want. They can go far away from Jesus and his teaching. They may not even realize they're far off or preaching something different or not close to Jesus, because they've built their lives on something else, even if they initially believe. So that's the first reason. Another reason is The Bible itself, it's a communication book by God. It was written over a period of time by different people inspired to give us a guideline. Originally, the Bible didn't have chapters and verses. What people do is they take this out of context. They take one verse or one sentence out of context, and they use the Bible as a weapon to beat somebody up over the head and say, "You're wrong. This is what you should do. Let me correct you." But that's not the way it's meant to be. So people take the Bible out of context, and they don't use it as the tool it was meant to be used as. Instead, they just, you can use a tool wrong. I mean, what happens if you use any tool wrong? You can break the tool. You can mess up the project you're trying to do. Well, it's the same thing with the Bible. If you use it the wrong way, or you take it out of context, and you try to make it say something it doesn't by just quoting one sentence, you're going to mess up. That's what a lot of Christians do. How many times has something you said been taken out of context, or somebody says half of what you said or not the full story, and then they don't communicate the truth? Well, that's what a lot of Christians do with the Bible. That's wrong. Also on the Bible is a book given to us by God. We believe that it was inspired by God. It's meant as a guideline. But God is living, breathing, and eternal. He's a living, breathing entity. He from beginning to end, He is there and He is alive. If God is alive, just like a person, His opinion changes, His views change based on the time and the circumstance. God looks at our hearts. Do you really think He confined His final absolute word to a bunch of books put together by a bunch of men, even if He spoke to them? I don't know about you, but if I'm alive and I write a letter, the letter might apply to certain things, but it doesn't apply to others. And I'm not going to tell somebody, just read my letter, it's got everything in there for you, and I'm never speaking to you again. Or I won't change my mind. People change their mind from time to time based on circumstances. Don't you think an all-powerful, all-knowing God who created everything, who's living, changes His mind with individual times and circumstances based on what's going on? So what Christians mess up is they take the Bible and they worship the Bible instead of the one who wrote the Bible or gave them the Bible. They worship the book, and they've made the book into an idol, just going in black and white terms of what the book says, and that's the final word, instead of seeking after God and His truth. It's another reason Christians can be judgmental. Finally, and here's the big one, Christians can be judgmental because it's easier to point out somebody else's mistakes and what they're doing wrong than look at yourself. That's why Jesus said, look in the mirror first. That's why He said, remove the plank in your own eye first. Because it's a lot harder to live by the teachings of Jesus. They're hard teachings. Giving to others, helping the poor, being lowly, being humble, turning the other cheek, forgiving. Those are hard teachings. It's a lot easier to look at others and judge them and point out what they're doing wrong than look at yourself or actually try to follow Jesus. So as long as somebody's busy saying what people are doing wrong or what Christians should or shouldn't be doing and condemning or looking at others, they're not looking at themselves, and it makes them feel better. It can give them a sense of, I'm right, I'm superior, I'm better. Who doesn't want to feel that way? And that's why a lot of Christians can be judgmental. They don't want to look at themselves. They don't want to look at or obey even the hard teachings of Jesus. And rather than do that, they go and they have their little checklists of what sin is and isn't, or what they think is right and wrong, and they condemn others without looking at themselves. So, final thing I want to say is, if you think Christians are judgmental, everybody is judgmental. It's our nature as human beings. We all judge. I don't care if you're an atheist, an agnostic, a pagan, a Buddhist, whatever you are. You judge other people and you criticize other people and you look down on other people. It's human nature. So don't use that as an excuse not to follow Jesus Christ. Okay? Everybody does it. As Christians, we don't claim to be perfect. You might think we're perfect, we're on a pedestal somewhere, but we're not. We're sinners. We make mistakes just like you. We're flesh and blood here, you know? We bleed too. We make mistakes, we're not perfect. So we can be wrong, we can be judgmental, we can make mistakes. Every human being makes mistakes. As Christians, we believe we're forgiven for our mistakes by the grace of Jesus Christ. And we're supposed to forgive others and tell them about Jesus so they can be forgiven as well. So we're not perfect. Finally, don't blame Jesus for what other people have done or said. Would you want somebody to blame you for something somebody else told them or did to them? Heck no, you wouldn't want to get the blame for something somebody else said. Well, if you've been hurt by Christians or the church, or you think Christianity's judgmental or whatever, I'm just asking you to go back and read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the 4 Gospels. Read what Jesus said, did, and taught. Don't blame Jesus because you can't stand Christians or you've been hurt by them. Those are people. Don't look at people. Look at Jesus, who was not judgmental, who came to save us, who preached mercy, forgiveness, grace, reconciliation with God, who taught us a great way to live. So don't look at other people, look at Jesus and follow him. If you've been hurt by a Christian, by me, by any Christian, by the church, by something they've said, if you felt condemned or criticized for your way of life, I'm sorry. But don't listen to what people say. Follow Jesus Christ. Thanks for listening.